Hey there, this is Jen T. Grace. I am the founder of Publish Your Purpose, and I am here today with Prince Manvendra and Duke DeAndre talking about their new book, A Royal Commitment. Thank you both so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so there's so many things I want to talk about. So your book is called A Royal Commitment. And there's so much to be said about the title, the intention, all of the things behind it. But Prince Manvendra, I want to start with you. If you just want to share just a little bit, and then we'll go over to you, just a little bit of how this book came to be. Like, what's the background and why in the form of a book? Because I know that you have a number of documentaries, for example, that are kind of out there. So why a book?
So basically, we wanted to explain the coming together of two souls, I call it, not just human beings, but two souls coming from different cultures, different ethnicity, different geographical areas, different systems, and how the two of us have gone through the ups and downs and struggles and challenges of being committed with each other for the last decade or more. So it was important to talk about that so that readers can know how these two souls could come and live with a committed relationship.
Yeah. What about you, DeAndre?
Yeah, for me, it was to celebrate our 10 years together, and to how to do that. I was like, well, it would be great to write a memoir and share with the world what it's been like for the last 10 years, and have that available.
Yeah, I feel like we met, and I feel like we figured out the date previously. I want to say it was 2016 or maybe 2017 at the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. And so it's one of those things that even though I work with thought leaders, people who are on stages and speaking and writing books for a living, it's always really cool to meet somebody who's standing on a stage as a keynote speaker, and then to fast forward so many years later for us to be here and having this this celebratory conversation about your story, because this is a memoir, this is your love story, and it goes into so much more than that. And so I know there's a lot of takeaways that a reader can have as a result of reading this book. But one of the things that I know that we want to touch upon is really just this conversation about the two of you being, in separate countries. Even right now, at the time of this recording, you're in two separate countries. So can we talk about the why that's happening and a little bit of the history of it? Because I think this is an opportunity for us to also educate folks on just the nuance, especially around LGBTQ individuals. So, DeAndre, do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah. So, during the pandemic, it was visas were canceled, so I had to come back to the U.S. So I was forced to come back to the U.S. because India doesn't recognize marriage equality, and so that was one of the big changes that had happened. Then after the pandemic, when India reopened, visa requirements were different. And so I was only eligible for an e-visa, which only allows me 180 days out of a 12-month cycle to be in India. So I have a multiple entry. I could break that up however, but it's 180 days, and so it's counted. So, because marriage equality isn't recognized everywhere around the world, there's that reasoning, there's that now new lifestyle of us living by country, where I'm permanently here for 6 months, permanently in India for 6 months. So that makes that geographical and a global, push still for equality. And what does that mean for people in situations like me and Manvendra?
Yeah, I know fairly recently it came up in India around kind of the court rulings around same-sex marriage. And I feel like that was, obviously not the outcome that any of us we're hoping for. But Manvendra, I'm curious, knowing that all of that was kind of happening, because even as we were in the process of putting the book together, we're like, hey, the ending might change based on what happens here. How did that, I guess, make you feel, knowing how important it is, and how you were married in the United States, and how you're still kind of, because of just the systems in which we all have to live, you're still kind of split these 6 months out of the year?
Yeah, I remember that when we were planning to end the book, we waited for the Supreme Court judgment to come. I mean, we didn't know whether it's going to come in our favor, it's going to come in against us. But unfortunately, the ruling didn't come in our favor, and same-sex marriage wasn't legalized in the country. But it was necessary to put whatever was the outcome. But there's definitely a sense of hope, which I had, that this ruling, even though it has gone against us, but still there was a hope that this petition might be reopened again. And that's exactly what has happened. I mean, after we penned down the last part of the book, we got to know that the Supreme Court is going to open the case again. And so I'm guessing this book would kind of help get legalization in not just our country, but many other countries where same-sex couples are still struggling to be together with their loved ones. But it is a law of the country which is not allowing them to live their lives together, and we have to sacrifice being in different geographical areas.
Yeah, DeAndre, do you have other things? There's so many things that are popping up for me. I'm curious what else you might have to add.
Well, I was just thinking, that recent ruling that just happened with the King of Thailand, ruling through its legislation, and signing into law the marriage equality there. So it's moving forward. The conversation has to be a continual, though, we feel the setbacks are there. And a lot of people always think that because of our positions of who we are, that we should be able to have some type of way of navigating it, to be much easier or circumvent the system. And I explained to them that lived experience is the best experience that one can use as a tool to engage on why there needs to be change. If we were able to, and if we wanted to, circumvent the system and do something completely different that other people wouldn't experience, then we wouldn't be that voice for the change, right? Because we would be able to live something that would be unusual. So it's better to live the norm in terms of these situations, so we can articulate and advocate the lived experiences of what it's like to be separated, what it's like to be torn from your family, and not to be able to have that opportunity to be together because of, our different obligations. And then how do you create that and becomes your new norm, in terms of these circumstances, and not to throw away that love that you have built upon, but to use that wisdom of love that you built upon as the tool to navigate these experiences, because we can't really control what we experience in terms of policy, but we can control how we respond to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that I feel like you're such a good example, because even as you just said, people do make an assumption that maybe the two of you would have more influence just based on your positions and your stature. And at the end of the day, you're still having the same outcomes as anyone else living in either or any countries where same-sex marriage is not formally recognized. And the other thing, because to me, it just kind of shows that we're all human, right? Because I think a lot of times the argument around, same-sex marriage is like, how we are, trying to think of the right word, how we are lesser than, or, we're these like horrible people. And yet we're living the same average life as everyone else, or the same extraordinary life as everyone else. And I think another example of this is, I know, Manvendra, you have a lot of caretaking responsibilities with your parents as well. And I think that's something that is such a universal thing that people from any culture in any country are kind of going through and experiencing. And I know that also kind of has a bit of an impact on your bi-country relationship. So do you want to share just a little bit of kind of about those experiences too?
Yeah, certainly. See, being from the royal family, there are a lot of roles and responsibilities I have, not just towards my family, but towards the people of our princely state. And a lot of obligations are there. A lot of duties to be performed. I mean, am not able to come to US. I mean, as the book is getting released, is because I'm very soon going to commence a 9 days royal festival, which is going to begin from tomorrow, which has been carried on in our family for the last 700 years. And I, being the custodian and the 39 direct descendant, I owe some responsibility towards fulfilling this obligation. And therefore, I have not been able to come to US for many reasons like these. And so it's very important for the readers to understand that it's not just I want to be with my husband. I mean, I'm sure he also wants to be in India, but because of the laws, he's not able to come to India because of my obligations, my duty towards my parents and to the family, as well as to the rich cultural heritage. That doesn't permit me to be in US for a long duration. So these are the struggles which we have tried to show in the book, so that readers can know that in spite of all this, being in a separated situation, we are still together. We are still, our love hasn't diminished, and it's all the contrary, become stronger in spite of all the challenges we have faced.
And I think that's what's beautiful, is that even with these challenges that, from Florida in the United States to India, like that's a long distance of land and ocean between the two of you. And yet it hasn't had any diminishing effect on your relationship and how much you love each other and how committed you are to one another. So it's really just kind of a beautiful testament that, as any individual who's found love, I think can relate to, but even as LGBTQ people, I think that is so important, that you're not going to allow the law in this case to be a thing that's going to stop you from having the love that you desire. And so I think that's just really beautiful. DeAndre, what else, what's coming up for you as we're talking about this?
For me, it was like, I was just thinking about a lot of my responsibilities that I'm not able to fulfill, being married into an Indian royal family. So when you marry into a family, you're marrying they have a different culture and they have a different system. And being married into a royal establishment that is over 600 years old and running, so what I was thinking, during that, was like how I'm missing out on being able to serve and to be a part of like these events that are happening, and be there for my father-in-law, and to be there for the establishment, and to be there with the people, and with my with my relatives. Those are the things that pull on you, but it's also those are the things that I also get my strength from, when I have the good memories, when I do remember what it's like to be running around and doing all the necessities that you are obligated to, being married into a dynasty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're going to be together soon in the next couple of weeks, because your book is launching, and you'll be launching it in a couple of different locations in Seattle, in Washington. So whomever wants to kind of start the story, why, like how Seattle is important and relevant to this, to your book.
Yeah, I'll do that. So I was living in Seattle. I was working, for a retailer, and beauty, when me and Manvendra first met. And after marriage in 2013, I had to come back to the US. So our story starts, in Seattle. And Manvendra flew into Seattle, and we had, a beautiful ceremony, here with my family, in the suburbs of Seattle. And it just was a really fitting and a natural fit that had come about on how to, start this off and kickstart it here in Seattle. After I haven't been here since 2000. 2013 with Manvendra and me here together. So it's just very fitting that this whole cycle comes back and we kickstart it here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what I kind of love is that we met through the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce, but your kind of connection points in getting your book events in Seattle stemmed from a connection with the Greater Seattle Business Association, which is the LGBTQ Chamber of Commerce in Seattle, so there's kind of like this beautiful showing of network, right? Like it's a community, it's a network, it's people who are like, yes, we would love to be the folks that are hosting this, your first book launch, because you are by country, and Lord, there's plenty of other countries that would make sense for you to go and talk about this, because it's your story, but there's such a universal nature to your story. So I'm excited that that's kind of how it's all played out. And Manvendra, I'm curious from your perspective how it's going to feel being back in Seattle after so long, or even back in the United States after a good solid chunk of time.
Yeah, I mean, even I'm coming to Seattle after 11 years. Like, I mean, last I was there when was invited by DeAndre to get married. And I have some good memories of Seattle, which are also there in the book, meeting a professor of mathematics with whom I had a music connection. So it would be like, coming back to connect back to this city and to revive those old memories which I had experienced 11 years back. So I'm pretty much looking forward to it, and because we are having some book events there, so that's all more exciting to be back into Seattle and to kind of experience those moments as well.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think will be next on your kind of tour around the globe in for just talking about your book, and what type of audiences are you hoping to get in front of? Because anyone who might be watching this, maybe they can say, hey, we would love to bring these amazing folks into our particular city or country. DeAndre, do you have anything that's kind of coming up? I know you're the lead on this project.
So, corporations who are looking, to bring something different for their employees, or organizations that are wanting to use this as a way of engagement, something that could be different for them, would be a great opportunity for people and organizations to get behind that. We will be traveling from Seattle to Michigan by train, so this will be a really exciting opportunity for us to spend time together. We're going to be going on the Amtrak, so it's going to be like 3 days on the train. Once we're in Michigan, I have family in Michigan, so we'll also be able to see some family in Michigan. And then we're doing a Zoom meetup with the Detroit Chamber, which is like super fabulous. And Manvendra will fly out of Detroit. So that will end the year here for me and Manvendra. We are looking at being able to do our tour separately. So that was one of the things that I've been like looking into in terms of being co-authors. Do we do things separately or do we do them together? And it's very common that people who are co-authors are not married and they are not in relationships. They're just experts on a subject, and so they come together and they create that book. So I do look forward to being able to split the globe up with Manvendra, and being able to do meet and greets where we can do them, and split our time in the year 2025 and make it work. So anyone around the world who wants to drop us an email, super happy to entertain how we can make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone has trouble getting your information, they're always welcome to reach out to us, and we'll make the connection as well. When we look at let me go back. Let me ask a question. Is there still an opportunity for anyone to purchase a book directly from you? Or are you now driving everything to online retailers, wherever people might be interested in getting it from?
No, there will be an opportunity to go to h1927llc.com and get a copy of the book. I'm working on bringing out those connections together, so it will be a nice, smooth opportunity for individuals. Amazon is a great place to go to. It's I've been reaching out to people globally just to see, like, is it available in that country? I just had someone, send me a message, and they're in Japan. So I was like, hey, will you just go on and look and see if it's available in Japan? Similarly, with people in India or Switzerland or Germany, anywhere around the world, I encourage you to, go ahead and take a look, see if it's available, and then let us know. I always am curious, like, where it can reach globally through Amazon. And within the United States, we have, we'll be able to get that up and rolling probably within like the next 7 days.
Amazing. Manvendra, is there anything that you want to share that I haven't asked as we're kind of coming up to a conclusion here?
Yeah, see, a lot of important people have been featured in this book, and I'm kind of, expecting that some of these people who are celebrities in their own ways, and they have contributed a lot to the society. I would really hope that some of them would reach out to us and would be able to, get us into some kind of a festival or a book reading club or something of that sort, where we are able to promote, help. They would be able to help us promote this book. So that's one thought which has come to my mind, and there are already people reaching out to me, because I think DeAndre has done a very good job in publicizing about this on social media platforms. That a lot of people are already started reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, how do we, if we get it?" And I mean, it's not just in Europe and in US, but also in Asia, a lot of other countries. So I think that's something which I'm looking forward to. I think DeAndre has to say something about it too.
Oh, I believe it. Yes. DeAndre, how about you? Anything you want to share?
I think that there'll be a lot of people who don't even know that they're in the memoir because it was written based upon our experiences over 10 years, right? And so there's a lot of experiences in 10 years, and each year is a chapter. And so there's a lot of events that happen in a year. So, there will be probably a lot of people who are like completely sideblind, like that they are mentioned in the memoir, that they are there. And there are other people who, like, I have close connections to. So of course I would reach out to them and be like, hey, can you? And then there's the people who did the forwards for us, who are really good friends with Manvendra, and who are really good acquaintances of mine, who lended, their thoughts to it. So, I'm like super, those are the things that a lot of people get like super excited about. They'll be like, Belinda did what? Or, Alan who? And I'm like, yeah, but you got to get to the chapter, to when they tried to poison me, and then they're just like, what? And I'm like, it's in the memoir. And they're like, you're so casual about everything's in the memoir. And I'm like, it is though. Yeah. We tried to make it, very from A to Z in terms of 10 years of, how did we make it work? And what were those, what were those challenges, And so from royal tours to conspiracies, to, pandemics and Supreme Court rulings, it's all in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Manvendra.
So I mean, a lot of people have had questions about our lives and all, and I've been very brief and telling them, well, I'm not going to tell you anything about our lives anymore. There's a book coming out. You want to be getting the copy of that book, and all your questions will be answered. So that's what I've been telling a lot of people these days, and I think this book has made it to kind of reply to a lot of questions, because after we have written this book, I come to the conclusion that a lot of questions which people have towards both of us would be answered through this book.
That is one of the best benefits of having a memoir, is that someone who is curious and inquisitive and they have a lot of questions, they want to know all the details. When you have a memoir, you can just say, go read the book. And then that way it kind of gets you out of the conversation altogether. So I love that you're already kind of like, just go read the book. And, that there is a lot that it's so multidimensional. you know, it is 10 years of marriage and activism. And so my final question to both of you, and I'll start with you, Manvendra, is if someone were to come up to you, whether it's in 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, to say, wow, your book really impacted me, what are you hoping that they're saying that your book did for them?
See, I think this book is definitely going to be giving a message to the readers. It will definitely inspire a lot of people. I'm very hopeful about it, and I'm very sure that it's going to work that way, because it's a very unique story. This kind of stories don't get published, and it's not just a story; it's a fact. It's something which has happened which has happened in reality. So, just reading this book, people are definitely going to get a very clear-cut message about how to live a committed life. I mean, it's not just about same sex. It's about I see so many heterosexual marriages hardly last for a few years, or few days maybe. But here, this book is going to talk about two cultures, two ethnicities, different race, geographical background, so much different, and yet coming together and living a committed relationship. So definitely it has a very strong message. And all those people who will be impacted by this, I will definitely wish that they learn something out of this, and get inspired, and make their lives better.
I love that. How about you, DeAndre?
For me, it would be worthiness
Mm.
as individuals, as products of the universe, that we are worthy of so many great things, and love is just one part of that. So there's that aspect of it, and persevering, through obstacles and situations from what life throws at you, and bringing all those together, and just putting your best foot forward every day. Me coming from the background of being an American, and working a very fabulous job in retail and fashion, to being married into one of the world's still functioning dynasties in India, is an amazing it's an amazing journey. And just to be able to share that with people, that as individuals, as being products of the universe, as a soul having the human experience, we are capable of so many things, if you just allow yourself to have that grace, and that joy, and that abundance of what that is to you. You can make miracles happen.
Oh, what a beautiful way to end this conversation. Thank you both so much. When I say this, I am not just blowing smoke. The two of you have been an absolute dream to work with. You have been so willing and able to do the things that are needed to make your book successful, and have just been such a pleasure to work with throughout the whole process. Always just love and respect and kindness. And I know I speak for myself and the rest of the team. Like, we're just so appreciative of just kind of how you show up, both, in a camera in front of other people, and then behind the scenes. You're both just brilliant people, and I adore you both. So thank you so much for being on this journey. I'm just so grateful that we have been on this journey together.
Thank you.
Same
Thank you so
here.
much.